大家好，想在纽约买第一个房子，却不知从哪里开始？别担心，你不是唯一的。我是 June Chan， 纽约房地产经纪人。我今天特别邀请到拥有多年经验的贷款专家 Peter Collins， 他已经帮助过数百位像你一样的首次购屋者。在这支影片中，我们会深入细解你真正需要知道的重点。从预先核准 pre-approval 头期款到一些只在纽约才会遇到的购屋小技巧或步骤，帮你省下上千美元。我们开始吧。在纽约买房跟其他地方完全不一样。不论是联排的别墅 townhouse， 混合商业带租约的建筑楼 mixed use building， 还是 co-op condo 的公寓，每一种都需要不同的应对方式。你不只是需要房源，更需要一套完整策略，而这一切都从搞清楚自己的财务开始。所以我们从最基本的开始。我问了 Peter， 如果你想买房，第一步应该做什么？
So, as a first-time home buyer, what do they need to prepare to get qualified?
Great question. So, first of all, I think as a first-time home buyer, you always want to, before you start going out with a realtor like June, you want to sit down with a loan officer and prepare, right? Sort of like preparing for a trip before you go on the trip. Know what you're going to do, where you're going to go, and all that kind of stuff. So the things that we look at when we're doing a mortgage are we want to see your credit, right? We want to make sure that your credit is good, that you have credit scores, so 3 credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And actually, there are loans that can be done without credit, but ideally you want to have your credit in order. You want to have money in the bank, or you want to be able to get gift money, right? Because you have to have money for a down payment and for closing costs. And then you also want to have some kind of income, right? You want to have a job, right? Because the lender will want to know that you can repay the loan. So, right, it's income, it's credit, and assets and money.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
I like what you say, just like when you go on vacation and you want to plan it out, right?
I mean, not everybody does.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great example.
专家建议在纽约预先准备预批信 pre-approval letter 就是你的优势，因为很多卖家没有看到这封信，连你出价都不会考虑的。这真的非常重要。我总是告诉我的客户，取得预先核准预批信代表你是认真的买家。在竞争激烈的纽约市场，这可能就是成交与否的关键差别。接下来我请 Peter 解释预先核准 pre-approval 和预先资格审查预批信 pre-qualified 有什么不同？
What does that mean, like get approval and get qualified?
Be getting pre-approved and pre-qualified. Two pretty different things, because pre-qualification really is a verbal, somebody coming to me and telling me this is how much I make, this is how much money I have, and this is my credit, right? I haven't looked at, a loan officer hasn't looked at any documents, but you're hearing the information. I call that, and it's not as impactful, pre-qualification. And obviously why it's not so impactful is because, it gets you on the road, but it's really not telling the full story. Because we got to look at tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, the credit report. But you got to look at the documents, because sometimes people don't know exactly, they think their credit is great, but then I run credit and there's issues on the credit that they didn't know about, right? So pre-approval is really going through the documents. Much more, for instance, as a realtor, right, if someone tells you that they were pre-approved versus pre-qualified, the pre-qualification doesn't hold as much weight.
Got you.
Yeah.
So me as a realtor, I prefer pre-approval.
100%. And people will call me, frequently, like, yourself, June, and other realtors, listing agents. They will call me, right? Client will show a pre-approval letter, right? And that letter says, hey, congratulations, you've been pre-approved for such and such amount of loan and this much of a purchase price. And then a listing agent will get that letter when an offer is made, and then they'll, frequently call me or the loan officer and say, hey, I got your pre-approval letter. Have you really looked at the information? Is this really a solid client? Because really what they want to make sure is that the deal's going to go through smoothly, right? So there's going to be no problems, that everything's been checked before they go into contract.
在纽约，像 Forest Hill、Astoria、Long Island City、Flushing、Bayside、Whitestone 或是上曼哈顿这些抢手的地点，如果没有预先核准批信，基本就不会被考虑的。接下来是文件的准备。如果你打算在6个月内购屋，从现在就要开始准备这些文件。
So to get that ready, what document they need to prepare to get that pre-approval?
So for a traditional loan, and I say traditional because, these days, especially in the New York market, we have a lot of what's called non-QM, a non-qualified mortgage, right? And non-QM, I tell people, is sort of like non-traditional, where you're using other means. So traditional, when I say traditional, we're talking about tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, right? That's really getting a traditional mortgage. Non-traditional would be not any of that. Perhaps you're self-employed and you want to use bank statements in lieu of income. So bank deposits going in, business deposits, business-related deposits that go into your bank account, we can use that for income. That's a non-QM loan. Or a P&L loan, profit and loss. We use a P&L from an accountant or an enrolled agent of the IRS that is used instead of your tax returns, pay stubs, and W-2s, right? So now a lot of people get, very skittish when we want to run credit. That, no, my credit score is gonna drop. Don't do that, don't do that. And I tell people, listen, I typically will run, if you're looking for a home, if you're at the beginning stages of looking for a home, I'll do a soft pull. There's something called a soft pull and a hard pull, right? A soft pull has no impact on credit score. A hard pull can have an impact, a negative impact, of course, that's what we're talking about, can have a negative impact on the credit score. But sometimes if your credit is excellent and you're not someone that, runs your credit a lot, running a hard pull does not necessarily drop the score, right? But we do have to look at that, and you want us to look at that. Because sometimes there are things on a credit report, as I mentioned before, that people don't even know about. And when you run the credit, then you can see it, and then you can take care of things. You can pay off bills that you didn't know you had, or you can get additional trade lines by getting what's called an authorized user account, right? There are things, again, we want to prepare you, get you ready, so that when you find that house, you are all good to go.
相信我，作为你的经纪人，你的买卖贷款越顺利，我们越有机会第一时间把理想的房源锁定下来。现在谈谈头期款，这个问题常常让人家惊讶。在纽约，头期款的要求差异很大。有些房子只需要 5%， 放 5%， 部分的 condo 的公寓接受 10%， 但很多 co-op 呢会要求 20%， 甚至高达一定要 30%。 这就是为什么在选择区域之前，一定要先和你的贷款顾问与房地产经纪人讨论。
How much do buyers typically need for the down payment?
So I cannot say the amount, but I'll say the percentage, because it all depends, right? It depends on the loan program. It depends on what you qualify for and what you're comfortable with, right? So you may qualify for a $5,000 a month payment, but your comfort level is $3,500 a month, right? So forget about what you qualify for. You got to make sure you're comfortable. right? So you can put down as little as 3% on a home purchase. There are some programs actually where you can put down 0%. I would say typically 3% would be the minimum amount that one could put down. And there's two things you want to take into consideration. It's your down payment and also closing costs, right? People forget about that there are closing costs, and you don't want to forget about that because that's money that you're going to need. And closing costs include title fees and attorney fees and mortgage tax and appraisal, homeowners insurance, origination fees, to the lender, underwriting fees, processing fees. So all these things, they do add up, and a loan estimate, so you have an idea, right? A good loan officer should be able to prepare an estimate of what the fees are, obviously, before you go into any kind of contract or any kind of deal.
那什么才是理想团队来帮你在纽约顺利买房？就是一位了解你的财务状况的贷款专家，一位懂得帮你争取好条件的房地产经纪人，两者搭配才有真正的成交购物计划。我们已经帮助许多客户实现梦想，即使他们一开始觉得自己还买不起，也能找到方案达成目标，买到他们理想的房子。如果你觉得今天的内容实用，记得按赞影片并订阅频道。我们接下来会推出更多 Q&A， 包括利息优势、信用分数小技巧、不同贷款方案比较等。有任何问题，欢迎留言与我们分享你的购物计划。别忘了按赞、订阅、分享这支影片，帮助更多正在考虑搬来纽约的朋友了解如何开始买房。我是 June Chan 张九，我们下一支影片再见，拜。